Welcome to the Postal Mate webinar, Retail Supplies. Am I charging enough? The power of Postal Mate. My name is Karen Grant, and I'll be your instructor today. So the first thing is, the truth is very likely that you're leaving money on the table. Now, not all of you will be that way, but many of you will find that you're leaving money on the table. So the first thing we need to do is identify a couple of things about you or your store. Again, I don't know who it is that's answering how on these polls. If you don't want to answer a poll, don't feel that you have to, or if you're an employee and don't know the answers, that's okay. But I'm going to start with the first poll, and we're going to go here, and this will give us a baseline because we're going to take a lot of polls, and that way you can know what is going on with other stores. So first of all, go ahead and answer this as best you can. And I want to find out how successful the people are or feel they are that are on this webinar. So we can know, I mean, if you're just starting out, if you're not so successful and we see low numbers, then we know why, things like that. So we've got well over 100 people. So go ahead and take these polls, and boy, is it looking pretty even across the board. I'm going to close this poll. We've had more than half of you voted. So I'm going to close this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to share this so that you can see. And I like the looks of this. Most of you are doing pretty well, but almost half of you, see some significant need for improvement in your store. So I want you to remember these numbers, or kind of because we'll have future polls in this webinar, and that way you can know that about half of you, a little over half of you, are doing quite well, and a little under half of you are up and coming or wanting to improve quite a bit. So that's a great place to be. All right. So the next thing we need to do is identify the type of store that you are. And what I want you to do is think about what your main profit center is for your store. Now, most of you, it's going to be pack and ship, but some of you, your main profit center are one of these other items, and pack and ship is maybe high, but maybe a secondary profit center. Now, again, I'm looking for your main profit center. So I'm going to ask you to take one more poll here before we get into the meat and potatoes. Here we go. So if you would be so kind as to let us know what we got going on here. And I'm so glad I decided to include this, because it is not all pack and ship, and that would skew our numbers in the future if we thought you were all pack and ship. And that's okay that you're not. This is information for all. We'll close this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and show you that one. Okay. So on this one, you can see that while the vast majority of your standard pack and ship our numbers will be a little bit skewed because we have some other types of business models here. With the dollar signs at the top, see, this is where I have to have you help me here, because let's go back to our screen. There we go. The dollar signs at the top of these boxes kind of indicate historically how much you can get away with charging for retail packing supplies. So we didn't have any storage facilities on this, but we'll probably have some storage facilities that do pack and ship that will watch this as a recording. So I want to include them. They typically can charge the least for packing supplies, and that's because their customers usually buy several packing supplies at once, so a dozen boxes, 2 dozen boxes, things like that. Whereas a pack and ship store, you typically only sell 1 to 5 packing supplies at a time. Same thing with print services or gift or office supplies. So you get away with that. Now, the next concept I want to talk about is something many of you are very familiar with. If you came from another retail industry, we often talk about keystoning products. And keystone is a business term. It's the practice of doubling your cost to set your retail price. So if something costs you $1, you would charge $2 to the public. That's doubling your cost. That's Keystone. And if you came from a different environment, a different retail environment into this particular market, you might be thinking that keystoning is the way to go for your products and services. Generally, that's not true in our industry. Several industries, that's not true. For example, the clothing industry is not a keystoned industry. That industry usually is a 4 to 5 time markup or more. That's why stores can give 75% off. If you only keystoned it and you gave 75% off, you would be selling it for less than you bought it for. So anytime you see stores that are able to offer, 50, 60, 75% off, you know that their cost is more than half of what they're charging in the first place. So that's kind of a marker that you need to be aware of. So in our industry, what is and is not typically keystoned? Keystone products typically in our industry are gift items, greeting cards, office supplies. Now, if you're more than Keystone, if you're more than double your cost, that's awesome. I always prefer that. My personal motto as an instructor in this industry is about pricing, to make as much as you can while retaining customer loyalty. Okay, so if your area, you can get more than double your cost, that's what I want you to do. Here's some areas that we typically don't only double, that we have a higher margin. Shipping, packing supplies, anything labor intensive, obviously. So let's talk about boxes, and we're going to be taking a poll. We're going to start with the 12 cube, and I want you to tell me what your retail price is. I'm going to put this poll up on the screen here. The retail price is what you charge your customer. What do you charge your customer for a 12 by 12 by 12 box? And this is where it should get pretty enlightening. I have 25% of you have voted. 33% have voted. 45% have voted. Come on, people, participate here. 55% have voted. I want to get as many of you as I can. Again, we have over 100 people. We got 60%. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then I'm going to share this. So what we see here is what I consider some pretty low numbers. And I'll just tell you that for this event, I went back and looked in my own data, and many of you know that I was a store owner for 25 years and had 3 stores. And I looked in my own data to see what I was charging for a 12 cube back 9 years ago is when I sold my last store. And I was at $425 9 years ago. So I will tell you now that if you go to the UPS store, we're going to be looking at above $4.50. Same thing with FedEx Office, probably above $4.50. So I want you to consider that. Now you're thinking, well, gosh, that's really hard to swallow when XYZ store charges less, big box store. We'll talk about that in a moment. I have one more poll on boxes. Let's do the same thing for a 20 cube. Okay, so for a 20 cube box, let me see if I can, sorry, this is where we get a little bit clicky with the screens here. Okay, let's have you vote on how much you charge your customer for a 20 cube box. And this box probably costs you, I'm going to say around $1, but you probably charge significantly more. Wow, the results of this one are turning out vastly different than the 12 cube. This one you're going to some of you are just going to be floored. Okay, we're going to close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and thank you. We had 65% vote, which is good because many of you are helping customers right now. Let's share the results of this. And look at this. Look at the vast. We have some stores, at least a store that was charging between $2 and $4 for this box. We have a number of stores charging between $4 and $5.50. And yet look, an overwhelming majority, 40%, are charging more than $7.76. So this is where I want to get your juices flowing and think about maybe charging. If your neighbor can charge that much, why can't you? Is my question. So again, you're going to, don't give me the story, the song and dance of XYZ big box store across the street charges a lot lower than me. That is true, but your customer has come into your store, and we'll talk more about that, strategies coming up. Okay. So that's boxes. We're going to move on, and we're going to come back to boxes, but we're going to move on to peanuts. Peanuts are, and I'm going to share with you why you can charge so much and what you should be charging for these packing supplies in a moment. But peanuts are one of those things where it is all over the board. So first of all, you buy them typically in 14 or 20 cubic foot bags. They're big old monster bags. If you don't have at least 2 or 3 of those bags in your lobby, your store better be under 500 square feet, because you should have 2 or 3 of those large bags in your lobby, even if you have to suspend them from the ceiling. Here's why. When you walk into a store and you see those big bags of peanuts, that is entertainment for your customers. They get amazed at the size of those bags of peanuts. You know, every college kid has probably either participated in or heard where some group of kids has bought a bunch of bags of peanuts and dumped it into a car of some athlete or somebody on campus. And, you know, when they open the car door, all the peanuts come rolling out. You know, it's a fun thing. Peanuts are fun to people, and having those big bags of peanuts, that says something to your customer about your store. So we buy them by the 14 or 20 cubic foot bag, but then we need to bag them in smaller bags. And typically we sell them in 1 cubic foot increments. Now you could sell them in 1 cubic foot bags, 4 cubic foot bags, 1.5, 3, 5, 7, whatever it is out in your lobby, that's fine. But have a couple of the big bags out there. And then what do you charge for per cubic foot? And let's see, I think I have a poll on this I want to do, because I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you what Staples and Office Depot and these other stores charge. So let's take this poll. This is for 1 cubic foot of peanuts. %, 40%. You're getting the hang of it. 53. Keep voting. 61. Excellent. Closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 70% of you voted. Thank you for that. Boy, and you're going to be shocked how all over the board you are. Look at this. So last time I was at a UPS store, guys, they were charging $6.95 for a cubic foot of peanuts. $6.95. So I'm not saying that's average. I'm not saying that's where you should be. I'm saying, folks, that's 5,000 stores in the country. Now, I don't know if they're all priced that. They're probably not. But what I'm telling you is they're probably priced higher than you think they are. And so I want to, gosh, this is so interesting. So why, I want those of you who are charging between $1 and $2.50, or let's say $1 and $4. And I know those that are in that green section, that $2.50, $1 to $4, probably a huge percentage of you are at $3.95 or $3.99, something like that. I want you to think, why are so many other people able to charge $4, $5, $6, or more dollars for that same thing? And please don't tell me it's because you live in a more modest area, or your neighborhood is going down, or you have a big box store around the corner. Those are not good excuses. I want you to challenge your customers, see if your market can handle a little bit higher. So I'm going to hide this poll, And I'm going to come back and we're going to share. Let's see here. So here is what is charged at these different places. And the dark blue in the far end here tells you per cubic foot. So at Staples, they kind of stopped selling them by the cubic foot because it was so expensive. Same thing with Office Depot. So you can see it's quite expensive, and that's when you charge a lot. I mean, have a lot of peanuts. Walmart, as you would expect, is less expensive. Amazon's ridiculously expensive, and of course that's because the cost to ship an independent smaller bag of peanuts is crazy. So it's you know, that's where the return on investment for them is just not going to work out. So if your competition is big box, you got some pretty good wiggling room here. Even if you're in a Walmart shopping center, a lot of people don't think about going to Walmart for peanuts. They're going to think about coming to you before they are Walmart. So I don't want you to think that this 232 is something you need to be near. So I'm going to move to bubble wrap in a minute, but I want to stop here and share with you why we can charge so much more for packing supplies than we can for other things. And the reason is transportation and footprint. Okay? Packing materials take a large footprint in your store. Not only are all your bundles of boxes taking up a lot of room, and you probably have to have shelving for them and keep them divided so you can find the one you need, but your box display in your lobby, you should have a large box display. If I had my druthers in your store, every single size box that you offered would be on display in your lobby. Now, many of you are saying, oh, I don't have room for that. Make room. A great example is all of your cube boxes, you can put one inside the other and fold the flaps inside. So, and then set it on its side. So it looks like this cool tunnel. So starting with a 6 cube, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, you know how it goes all the way up to a 24 cube. You can set all those inside of each other and it kind of have them telescope out, and that looks really cool. And then other boxes around it. Having these on display, yes, it takes a lot of footprint, but identifies you as a significant pack and ship location. It's just like stores that have huge walls of mailboxes will rent more mailboxes because when people come in, they identify with with mailboxes at that location. So you're subconsciously selling your customer on what you do by how you display items. Just for example, if a customer walks into your store and it looks like a flea market, and yes, I have been in stores that, honest to goodness, the store owner goes to flea markets and buys things and brings them back to their store, and their store looks like a Goodwill. I'm sorry, that does not look good in our industry, and that does not tell your customer that you're in the serious pack and ship business. So market or display what you want to promote in your business, please. So because of the footprint and because of the cost of transportation in moving these large footprint items to your store, that means that you can charge more for the item. So for example, if you sell pens in your store, that takes up what, a half a square foot footprint on a shelf. So a small cubic foot in your store. And that's good return on investment for that cubic foot. If you put a bag of peanuts in the same place, well, a box of pens is going to sell for a whole lot more, a big box of pens, than, you know, the same size in peanuts. So you can charge more for that. Think about it this way. Your landlord does not charge you less rent for areas where your retail products are not making you money. So you have to pay the same amount of rent no matter what type of retail product is on it. So you will make more money or should charge a higher price for these high footprint items. All right. I'm going to go on. We're going to take one. I think this is the last. I want to say the last poll. No, 2 more polls. Sorry, guys, if you're getting tired of polls. But I think this is going to really help you out on knowing how to price things. So this is the middle one here, this 12-inch wide large bubble. So the large bubble is about the bubbles are actually about the size of your thumbnail, a big thumbnail. And this is 12 inches by 12 inches. So I would like you to tell me what you price that for. And this is what your customer pays for it. And this is for a single one, not if you sell 10 of them or 20 of them or something like this. This is just for, you have a small item, you're putting one piece of bubble wrap on it or selling them one piece of bubble wrap. Okay. All right, again, we're all over the board. I'm going to close in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Okay, so again, while we do have variety, we have a clear winner in this one in that 51 cent to dollar range. My guess is that most of you are either 75 cents or 95 cents, somewhere along that line. But also a good portion of you are a little higher and a few are a little lower. So this is an area, and this is an odd one because we never sell a single cubic foot usually, or linear foot of bubble wrap. But we usually sell it by several feet. So we're going to talk about quantity discounts in a moment and how you can make more money by selling more product. So thank you for participating, and I'm sorry I have one more poll, and I'm really not sorry. I'm excited about these polls, but I know it means that you have to work too. So the last item is a number 2 padded envelope. Okay, and padded envelope size really matters. There is size 000 to size 7, and I'm sorry I don't know the exact dimensions of a number 2 envelope, but it is absolutely the most common one sold, so that's why I'm choosing that one. And I'm going to discuss the other things on that. So, oops, let me get to that. There we go. Let me pull up that poll. See, I forget to pull these polls down. Last poll, lunch. How much do you charge for a number 2 padded envelope? You're going to want to rewatch this webinar again and see how your pricing can improve. Okay, closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Okay, let me share that. And the vast majority of you are in that $1 to $2 range. And that's a good place to be for a number 2. I think that's a really handsome place to be. Those of you who are in the lower ends there, I really hope that you have a good reason. I'm not going to criticize you because I don't know your reasoning, if you're, what your business model is. But what I'm saying is for the pack and ship industry, clearly you can be between $1 and $2. And I want to say that, I got to say, if I were running a pack and ship store today, I think I'd probably be in that $1.59, $1.69 range for this one. But and I want to say we have a healthy amount over $2, and kudos to you for that. So I'm going to go back to the screen because I want to say a word. I've said this over the last several webinars, but many of you maybe have missed some or not yet caught it. And that is the number 7 padded envelope. And that's generally the largest size that's offered. And I want to say it's 14 by 20. I think that's the dimensions. It would behoove you to not carry that envelope in the future. And I will tell you, back from my days, that was my most popular envelope because people would love to grab that instead of using a box, thinking that it would ship cheaper. It doesn't, but they would think it would. Stop carrying boxes higher than a number 6. The cutoff between a number 6 and a number 7 is actually subject to additional handling with UPS and FedEx services where it's not waived for you. So that's like a $12 or $15 fee. It's ridiculous. So don't, so if you are going to ship these, and if you're going to carry them, obviously try to remember, but I would say let's just stop carrying number 7s so that you don't get hit by your employee or you forgetting to apply the additional handling, not in a standard container button, for padded envelopes that are number 7 in size. And while we're on this subject, a little off our topic today, Same thing with round tubes. Round tubes for UPS and FedEx are subject to additional handling. So it would behoove you, again, to not carry round tubes or only use them for post office services. All your box supply companies do have rectangle boxes that you can use and cut down in 4 tubes, 4 by 4 by 40, 4 by 4 by 48. And they're easy to cut and trim out and make smaller if you need to. So I would really suggest that you do that. Okay, so we're going to come back to some of this, but I want to start here. These are your 2 main competitors outside the post office. And while your local FedEx office and UPS store may not look as neat and tidy as this, some do, some don't. My local UPS store looks as good or better than the one in the photo. So this is what we all want to aspire to, and that is carrying retail products, packing supplies, and displaying them neatly and nicely in your store. The question was asked, and I want to address it right now. Is it possible that we're carrying too many padded envelopes? They're carrying about 9 sizes. I don't think there is such a thing as carrying too many padded envelopes. I think 3 is the bare minimum anybody should carry. But I will tell you that when I had my store, I carried everything from 000 to 7. If I had a store today, I would stop carrying 7. I would carry 000 to 6. If you want to only carry 4 or 5, that's fine. But I don't think there's any harm in carrying them all. It makes you look really well stocked if you display those items. Folks, I want to give you a couple of hints for your displays, because displays are important for your packing supplies, for your office supplies, for anything that you sell in your store. And the key to being successful and making a successful look is making sure that your shelves look really well stocked. So I want you to look at the pegs over here at FedEx office. Now I'm going to tell you something that they may have done wrong. At least if this was my store, it would be wrong. If you notice the Sharpie markers to the right of the lady, the holder looks like it's probably 6 inches long. And the holders that go onto peg walls or slat walls come in different lengths. And the longer they are, the more you have to hang on that holder or that metal piece to make it look full. Folks, they come in 2 or 3 inch lengths also. Those are the ones you should order. And instead of having, 2 rows of Sharpie markers, you can put 2 on a peg and have 6 rows of them and make the wall look more full. I want you to make your wall look as full as it can in a neat and orderly fashion. Everything squared up, everything in even rows, diagonally and vertically, and refill those on a daily basis. Looks are important. So having said that, I want to also discuss with you, and a lot of this, of course, is not Postmate. We are going to get to Postmate and do some quantity pricing. But I want to also tell you, when you're buying retail products or products for display in your store, there are 2 purposes for doing that, and they're both equally important. The first you already know. The first purpose is to resell those items and make money. Well, duh, Karen. That's what we're here for. But the second one is more subtle. By selling items that are appropriate to your main business model, so pack and ship for most of you, you are giving the message to your customer that you are a real and significant pack and ship store. You're lending credence to your business model and showing the world that you are a professional entity. I can guarantee that over on the right-hand side at that UPS store, those office supplies, they have to go dust those things off on a regular basis and swap some things out. Now, many of them they do sell, and you will sell, don't get me wrong. But some of them you'll just be dusting off and switching around on occasion. That's okay, because it's still serving the purpose of making it look like you're a professional business entity. It gives credence to your business model. So a lot of you want to know, where do you get this type of this product or these products. And, you know, if you're just a mom and pop shop, and that's not a justa, but I was just a mom and pop shop too. And before we had the internet in this industry, and before we shared information, and it was hard to find suppliers to give me what I needed to sell in my store. I don't want to go to Walmart and buy it and then just resell it, or Costco or Sam's Club. I want to get it from a wholesaler. So many of you already use supply side, but I'm going to introduce supply side to a bunch of you. They sell retail products. In fact, they sell them to the UPS store. So that's where the UPS store gets their products for selling. They sell to the pack and ship industry and have for a number of years. They're a super great supporter in our industry. They appear at all the major events. They have planograms and different things to sell. Now, I really encourage you to get this type of product in your store. And I don't care if you buy it from supply side or buy it from XYZ. I promote supply side because supply side supports us in this industry. That's a good mix for me. But if you have another source you want to buy your items from and sell them, that's fine too. The point is, do it. Don't be afraid to have items in your store. I want to ask you, if you're shopping for groceries, which one of these stores looks like they're going out of business? And that's an easy answer, but it's important that your store walls always look well stocked. This is a store that, a pack and ship store that I think for a small store has done it right. I admire everything about how this store is laid out. Could things be neater and piled? Yes, of course, there's always improvements, but by golly, he did a lot of right things here. This is the look I would love for your stores to incorporate. And if you can have that kind of a look in your store, please aim for that, because when I'm a customer and I walk into this store, everything I'm looking at has to do with packing and shipping. Greeting cards, that's for packing and shipping and mailing, including in the package. All the retail items have to do with packing and shipping. It is a win-win-win situation here. So we're going to move on to, I promised you, quantity pricing. So my first suggestion for you is, when you have all those boxes on display, create a label for each of those boxes. Here's what you'll find if you have a large box display. I know a lot of you can sympathize with me on this, but I used to have to do this. Your customers will rearrange your box display every stinking day, and you will have to go back out at the end of the day and reorder the boxes. They will grab whatever one they want to grab is the second from the bottom, so that they can size it up and compare it to the item that they have. They always think that they have to do that. The other thing is, half the time they'll actually bring that box up to the counter thinking that they're going to buy that exact box, when in fact, of course, you know you're going to go grab one from the back. Well, first thing I'd like you to do is create a label. And I've got a label here, but I'm not saying this is exactly the right label. Perfect label would actually have your store logo on it and look better. But create a label to apply to all your display boxes. Second thing is, make it very clear what the price is, and then put on the label, it's okay to make these labels big, acceptable for up to 50 pounds when shipping, because that's what a standard cardboard box that we have in this industry is. If you get over 50 pounds, you technically, according to the carriers, should be start to move to a higher weight, a 1.5 or double wall box. You might want to include the dimensional weight of that box, so that if somebody says, oh, I got something I want to put in this, then you can warn them, how heavy is it? Oh, 20 or 30 pounds. You know, you might want to try putting that in a smaller box, because you're going to end up shipping it at a 52 to 60 pounds, blah, blah, blah. You can give them, you can be their heroes in helping them with this. But more importantly, I want you to notice at the bottom, I've put discounts. Now, most customers, when they come in, are only buying 1 or 2 boxes, but occasionally you will have customers that are moving, or that are packing a bunch of things up, or reorganizing, or whatever, and they're going to need multiple boxes. Don't be afraid to give discounts on multiples, because see, typically those customers are the ones that would go to the big box or to Walmart or something. In quantities, you can start competing with big box, but on one-offs, it's okay to be higher priced. I hope that makes sense to you. And we can enter those quantity discounts in PostalMate. And these are prices that I'm showing are simply suggestions. I'm not telling you you have to or should charge this price. You decide. But your discounts could be significant. I used to offer certainly bigger discounts with bundle boxes if they buy a whole bundle of boxes. Same thing goes with peanuts. You're going to want to have displays of peanuts in your lobby. People love looking at peanuts. They think it's fascinating, as I said. And then have some discounts. You need to purchase some clear plastic bags. You might have to go to a supplier. Some of you that have a supplier for clear 1 cubic foot or 1.5 or 3 cubic foot bags, if you want to put on your supplier, if it's somebody you order online, I'll shout it out to the others so that they can look. Supply side might, in fact, have bags. I don't know that they have bags. They will sell, in fact, supply side will sell pre-rolled bubble and bags of peanuts. But we're in the industry, folks. It makes more sense for you to create them at a lower cost and just have them out in your lobby and slap a label on it. So create a label. And again, I'd prefer the label have actually your logo on it and get it out there. And these are some ideas for you. So the last thing I want to touch on before we go to PostalMate is when you do discounting in your store, because discount is not a dirty word. But you know what type of store you are. And I don't want you to be a dollar store, folks. We are kind of a premium privileged service. It's kind of like there are people who go to laundromats and there are people who go to dry cleaners. And I'm sorry, folks, but we're dry cleaners. We have the upper end of the clientele, and that's what we want. We don't want to become a laundromat and have a self-serve machine. So I want you to make sure that you label things and have pricing good, and that when you have discounts, you're doing it appropriately. So I'm going to show you a really ugly screen, and I'm sorry this is an ugly screen, but the lower right section has some different ways that you can put out a discount or mark a discount. Thank you, Sandy. So supply side does sell empty cubic foot bags for peanuts. So I would encourage you to buy those. And if it's a large quantity and you want to share it with another store in your area, do that. So the first thing is, many of you, especially the ladies on board here, are familiar with a company called Yankee Candle. And Yankee Candle sells, as you know, candles, and they're expensive. I mean, you'll pay easily if you go in and buy a single candle. It's very easy to come out having spent $24 on a candle, which seems crazy, I know. But they often run specials. Now, it is uncommon for them to do was $24.95, now $15.39. This top one I put on because I want you to look at that line and tell me, does that look like it's a savings or a sale? And there's a distinct but subtle difference between the two. See, a sale indicates that it's a discount, and that's kind of along the lines of a dollar store, or you're trying to get rid of it, okay? When you're trying to get rid of something, you would mark it down, slash the old price, and here's the new price. But let's go down to the second one, buy two, get one free. That's indicating a savings. Now, instead of slashing the price to get rid of something, this gives the subtle impression that we're going to save you money and you're going to get more for your money. See, now that thought takes your whole mind in a different direction than the first one. So I mean, I'm really big on the buy two, get one free, get more for your money, rather than becoming a discount warehouse. And then the last one, I placed this here because this shows a quantity discount, which people like. But also, I want you to notice that the font is extremely different in all of these. I am totally guilty of being a font screw up. As many of you know, I'm still working with these new PowerPoint slides and creating these things, and I have not established my fonts at all. So I am all over the boards with fonts, and it's very ugly to the eye. It will get better as I get more practice. But the same thing is true in your store. Every single sign that you create first should be laminated or put in plastic and framed. Second, should have the same exact font. You can bold it, you can color it, but pick one font for your store and that be the font for everything. If you've ever looked at my company's tech notes, for example, the font on that is consistent with every one. It is a sign of unprofessionalism when you do what I'm showing on the screen right now, which is there's 5 different fonts on this screen total, and it's ugly to the eye. So pick one font, and there are business fonts and there are non-business fonts. The buy 2, get 1 free is a great business type font, but the curly Q at the bottom is great in a gift environment. And the top one is great in a discount environment. So you pick your environment that you want to give in your store, the vibe you want to sell. Pick a font in that area and stick with it for every sign you create in your store and make it professional. Okay, I have a gift for you from Supply Side in a minute, but first we're going to go to Postalmate, and I'm going to go to Cashmate, and we're going to take a look at quantity pricing real quickly and how to set that up. And I'm going to tell you, because a lot of you indicated that you're in the print market, and so we're going to talk about that as well, because that's also a retail item. But first I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Product. And I'm just going to choose, start with SKU, and I'm going to choose a 20 cube and go to Pricing. Okay, and I want to show you how to adjust your pricing. First of all, your retail price is right here. So right now mine is set at $7.25. So over here, I can do quantity pricing, and you put your dollar amount here and the number that you have to sell here. Okay, so for example, I'm actually going to change this. I'm going to make this a little bit more significant. So I'm going to go $5.95 for 5 or more, and we're going to go. Let's see, for 10 or more, I'm going to go $5.25, and then let's go $4.95 for 20. Let's see, a bundle of well, let's go. I'll just do 20. Okay. Now we can do promo pricing too, but I'm only going to talk about quantity pricing today. That's all I'm caring about. Click OK, and OK again. Now, here's what happens when I ring up that box. If I ring up a single, oops, yes, I wish to open the cash register. Yes, I have that much money. I know you're laughing at me. Go ahead. Okay, 20, 20, 20. Okay, so there's a single box. Now watch what happens. I'm going to do 5 at SKU. Okay, now the price went down to $5.95. Okay, and so now let's do 10 at 20, 20, 20, and now the price went to $5.25, and let's do 20 at SKU, $4.95. So you can see the price break right here and how that went down. So that's how we're going to do that. Now I want to go and do I just want to talk about printing. So many of you that have large print services, and I'm going to say that's probably a third of you, have some significant print services. We frequently get questioned about, well, why can't we have more than those 3 quantity discounts? I want to have more breakdown than that. So I'm going to go in and look at my black and white letter here and show you. Let's see if I can find that. Sorry, guys. Okay, edit. So you can see here, I've got discounts for 100, 500, or 1,000. So maybe, let's say we did this, let's say this one was 50, and then this one was 100, and this one was 200, but you wanted to have some, another break for a 500, 1,000, and 2,000. So what you would do is create another product called copies, black, white, letter size, and then you would put LQ, large quantity, and start those prices off at the new one. So you would be bringing up a different button for large quantity. That way you could have far more levels of quantity pricing. Hope that makes sense to you. All right, we're going to go back to, nasty grams here. Let's go back to my PowerPoint. Bear with me here a second. Okay. And supply side is because I reached out to them and I said, look, we're talking about retail supplies and I'm going to mention your company. Would you offer a discount to our customers? And they said, absolutely, we support you 100%. So again, I'm not in the business of promoting a particular supplier, but if you would like to, or you are interested in getting an account with supply side, or if you are already an account holder at supply side, your next order after this webinar is 10% off. Doesn't matter if you're a current customer or a new customer. You can go to supplyside.com to get it. And this is the coupon code that you're going to need. And if you want, let's see. On your webinar pane, there is a handout. If you click the handout, it will print out, and I have included the information on how to get that discount. And the highlights of this webinar are on that. So click on that and print that out. It's a PDF. If you have problems printing it, maybe you don't have Adobe Reader on that computer or something like that, you can email support, or if you're watching this as a recording, email support, but be sure and specify, I'm looking for the retail supplies cheat sheet, because they have 30 different cheat sheets and you don't want to get the wrong one. So be sure and specify, and don't email me, email support, because I have to go get it from support when you email me. So email support@pcsynergy.com. All right. So now we're ready for some question and answers. So if you've got some questions, go ahead and throw those up. I think for the most of you, you're not going to have questions, but you're going to be rethinking some of your pricing. I would like you to share in the question and answer. Just let me know if you think you're going to be increasing your prices, because that's the goal. My goal is always to get you to increase your prices. It is so rare for me to ask you to decrease your prices out of, and we visit stores a lot, and I've done a lot of price analysis and, stuff for people. And it is very rare. 1 out of 100, no, maybe 1 out of 500 times I'll ask a store, I'll say, yeah, it's a little high. You may want to lower that. So please go ahead and put in your questions. And while we're getting some questions in, I want to remind all of you that we have a Postal Mate training coming up, hopefully in a neighborhood near you. And our next event is in Denver, and then we'll be at the RS Expo in Dallas. And that will be the biggest training event in the year. And we usually go a day or two ahead of time and have, and I don't know how it's going to work out, either Wednesday and Thursday or Thursday and Friday, but I think it's usually Wednesday and Thursday, and do Postal Mate training almost the whole day. So if you can come in early and attend it, that's a marvelous. And we actually do 45-minute classes back to back to back to back to back. And historically, we've taught between 13 and 15 different topics. So it's pretty cool. But our events coming up in May, August, and November, May, September, and November, Dallas, New York, and Anaheim, California. We will be there, and we always bring a good group of instructors. Right now, I'm slated for all those events, but our whole team is just amazing. I think I calculated, and I can't remember the number, but I calculated the number of years in the industry for our entire team together, and it was like 150-something years or something ridiculous of knowledge that you're getting in these. And by the way, I don't want you to ever think that I know it all, or any of us know it all, or we did it right in our store. I did so many things wrong in my store. It's when I look back, I was a walking disaster in many ways, because I have learned so much in my role as an instructor, getting to visit with each of you and learn from you. That's why our training team has become so valuable to our industry, is because The best and most brilliant of you have shared your ideas with us. And I think that any one of our training team, if we were to go out and open a store today, would do things vastly different than we did when we had our stores. And we would make a whole lot more money knowing what we do now than what we knew then. So thank you for teaching us how you make money better than we did. And I am really grateful to be able to turn that around and share it. You are all so generous with that knowledge and share it with the industry. So, and again, this wasn't as much of a Postal Mate webinar as it was kind of an industry webinar, but I think that sometimes we need to see if we can improve our bottom dollars, our bottom line, and that helps your Postal Mate because you will be a customer for a lot longer if you're making a lot of money. That's my theory. Okay, poly bags or any plastic clear bags. I would really prefer on peanuts that you don't use the ones that look like office trash bags, and they're kind of transparent but not quite, opaque. That was the word I was looking for, opaque. It looks like a trash bag. That would be a last resort. Get the nice clear bags, and the ones from supply side that are offered, and they're just empty bags, you can buy them. I want to say they're probably sold by the 100 or by the couple hundred. They actually have written on it that it's 1 cubic foot of peanuts on it. By the way, for those of you who are new, you measure 1 cubic foot using a 12 by 12 by 12 box, and always include it, have it capped off a little bit high because peanuts will settle and you never want to cheat your customers. So always top it off a little bit. Okay. Oh, thank you. Some of you are letting me know that you're going to increase prices. So yes, I'll go back to that. Bear with me. I'm going to go back to that coupon code, but it is in the handout. But here's the slide for the coupon code for supply side, and they are generous to let us do that. That's a great question, Carol. And by the way, I've said this in other webinars. If you have a unique first name, I usually won't mention it, but if you have a common first name, I often will, so that because I don't want to point people out, point things out. But Carol asked, what are other people charging for a single color copy, 8.5 by 11? Would you please share your answers so I can tell everybody that? That's a great question. And while they're doing that, I'll move on. Let's see. Okay, increasing prices. Oh, I'm increasing my prices for so many items. Thank you. Oh, Henry, that's actually a good idea. Henry came up with a good idea. I say that like I'm shocked. When people are buying large quantity of items like moving supplies, they often don't know how many items they'll need. Offer a buyback. Say, hey, I'll buy them back for you at the same price you paid if you bought too many. That will encourage them to buy more. Chances are they'll use them all and won't go to Walmart to pick up the rest of them. So do that. Okay, the copies. Thank you for sharing your information. Boy, we have a pretty good consensus here. A color copy, 8.5 by 11. I'm just going to start reading. 50 cents, 55, 49, 49, 49, 75, 89, 49, 49, 79, 50, 39, 59, 35, 49, 79, $1. Okay, so I think the consensus was around 50 cents with several of you charging higher. Oh, thank you, Jess. Okay, so I was just informed that the supply side clear bags don't have any writing on them. They're just clear bags, but that's okay too. So go ahead and use those. A couple of you color copies now in at 35 and 39 cents. Any other last minute questions? Let's see. Will we be able to watch this later? I will try to get this recording rendered and email it to you. We will post it on our website after the maintenance is done on our website. That may be a few weeks away. We are in the process, by the way, of changing to a new website. That'll be coming, I'm going to guess, this summer. So that's why we're kind of, I won't say bubble gumming and masking, taping things together, but it almost feels that way sometimes because we've outgrown our current website. We have, if you've ever looked at the training page, it's insane how many videos and webinars there are. So we are looking to something better and bigger. Okay. Oh, that is the nicest thing. This person says, and I won't say his name, but he says, I think the reason I'm still in business is because of Postal Mate and RS Associates. Thank you for that. That's very meaningful. Um, and we did not discuss shipping prices today. That will be another webinar, and we'll do that. I typically do shipping prices, by the way, just before the holidays, so that you can be sure and increase them before the holidays. So be looking for that around the October-November timeframe. If something changes between now and then, I know that if a carrier between now and then has any significant pricing changes, I will certainly address that and do some on that. All right. And some of you are so kind to comment about the slides, so I appreciate that. Make sure you put that store label or some kind of a label on your peanut bags and on your roll up bubble wrap. Put 10-foot rolls of bubble wrap and 20-foot rolls of bubble wrap out in your lobby. See, this is stuff to give your employees to do when you have downtime. And they all typically have downtime. Now, that's not true in 100% of the stores, but I would say in 75% of the stores, your customers all go outside and wait together until there's enough of them, and then they all rush in at once. But while they're out there gathering, okay, I'm being facetious, but while they're out there gathering, it feels like that, right? You can hear crickets in your store. That's the time your employees should be filling peanut bags and rolling bubble to sell out in your lobby. So hope you all enjoyed this. And I hope that you're going to make more money. Stay tuned for more webinars coming up. Our next week's webinar is on departments and products and setting those up in Postal Mate correctly and how to tell the difference. You should have only a handful of departments, but you could have thousands of products. And we'll talk about that next week. Be watching your emails probably later today or certainly this week for an email on that and sign up. Hope to see many of you in one of the upcoming regionals. Thank you again. Take care, stay safe, and happy shipping. Bye-bye, everybody.